This is a message to Hyungjin and really all true children. My videos from the last 2 days, that's number 11 and 12 in the series, really talk about the most intimate topic and conversation that I ever had with any of you true children. And I you're really privileged, because if you were anybody else, I wouldn't even feel this way. So, in other words, I feel bad. I feel bad. I still would share what I shared in the last two videos, because one, I think it has historical value. People need to understand what true children were like, not from their perspective, but from our perspective. And because people thought that blessed children were going to be like Jesus, and in a sense they were, but not in the sense that people understood. And they thought that true children wouldn't have problems and this kind of thing. And you guys were worshipped, and when he first got here, Hyungjin said that worship turned many of you into demons, because it was unearned honor. The person or persons who deserve the honor for your position or greatness or historical value goes to your creators. You were created in a certain way, is the point. You were created in a way. This is what it means to not have original sin. You were created in a way that Satan cannot accuse your conception. So since he could not accuse your conception, he could not claim parenthood over you. That doesn't mean that Satan, who had become the ruler of this world, couldn't influence you. And that's what a lot of people, they didn't realize about blessed children. And the fact that I feel so bad, because Father only has a limited number of physical children, and you are special as history as history goes. As a part of history, you are rare and special people. And so the fact that I would feel a bit of sorrow for the last 2 days videos, like exposing or telling the story of intimate time, which I had that intimate time because of your grace, because you shared that time with me. If you chose not to share that moment with me, I would never have it. Listen, it's not my fault that you're celebrities as far as Providence goes, and I don't know how you feel about it, how you're handling it. Maybe you're milking it. Some of you make me feel like, wow, you're milking it for every bit of influence you can get. Some of you are milking it for every bit of power and manipulation or political advancement that you can get. It's not my position. So the fact that I feel some sorrow, if you were anybody else and I had that exchange, that kind of 5-hour conversation, I wouldn't even feel bad for exposing to people that you couldn't tell the difference between people who put lineage in a high position or high priority, and people who put etiquette in a high priority. That's really what's the embarrassing thing to me. Is that these people, which is what I feel, have very low priorities in terms of, God's mindset. God has a hierarchy of priorities, and lineage is pretty daggone high. Keeping purity is pretty daggone high. Controlling your sexual organ is part of the tradition, keeping the tradition of heaven. If we can't control our sexual organ, we can't control the cosmos ultimately. Even sociological and psychological data is showing the effects of sex done the wrong way on subsequent generations. But that's a story that the Bible told us. Sex in one generation makes Cain kill Abel in the next generation. But let me move on past this. That 5-hour conversation made me realize that I cannot continue this prosecute the public official course inside the Sanctuary Church. Sanctuary Church totally snuffed it out. And in the end, when I tried to tell Hyungjin about how his friends worked to snuff it out, he didn't want to hear it. So, do you think I was bent out of shape, like I had no home to go to? Absolutely not. Because church is by far not the only game in town. Church is a game that is dying. The only way that I could bring myself to help Hyungjin him, after clearly knowing the era of church is over, and I told this, you can ask anybody if they're still honest people, because some of them are starting to sound like they would do and say anything to create a spectacle where they're slaying dragons on Hyungjin's behalf. And I know what that's like, because I did that in 2015, slay dragons, but I did so in the interest of truth. I didn't do so primarily because Hyungjin said he appreciated it. But anyway, if they'll still tell you the truth, the members of the Pocono group will tell you that we had two focuses in helping you in the early stages of sanctuary. One is that true children suffer from palacitis, something that Hyungjin was admitting made his siblings demons. And two, that since we're beyond the era of church, mind you, these are Pocono people. These are people who know the essence to some degree of the spirit that created Shahakwa, because people like the Boninis, they were instrumental in both Shahakwa and the Pocono Family Ministries Church, which were both decentralized and not connected to Family Fed or the UC. Okay, so because they understood that, our second goal in helping you, Hyungjin, was to help you as if your church is a project. It is the project of our brother. Literally, these were the stated goals of why I, as pastor of the Pocono group, and why the Pocono group agreed to go to your Sunday services every other week for a while, and then we decided to go every week because you were not filling the seats. So we sacrificed our own bi-weekly or bi-monthly Sunday service so that you could have butts and seats. I don't know if that was a smart move, but we did it because it's your project. And that's how Fourth Adam thinks in the era after church. You do things, you do projects based on the conscientious inspiration of brothers and sisters. And the brothers and sisters that you gel with or you feel called to help, you help them. It's not because Abel Figure told you to. So we didn't come to your church because we needed to. We came to your church in the spirit of volunteering to help a brother's project. Now, some of those members of the Pocono family group were starstruck, even though they were among decentralized people's mindset. So some of them went because they were starstruck, and some of them went because it's nothing more than you being their brother. And these are the things that we talked about. I even told you personally that one of my goals is to bless you with normal. That's why I tried to give like normal birthday gifts and this kind of thing, have normal birthday parties for your children, and talk to them in a normal way. Not talk to them like I'm scared of them, like talk to them like I'm in fear of how they're going to assess me and this kind of stuff, because I think they had a lot of that. So even though this whole court thing was coming to an end, I still had my basic reason for being around you to be around you, although I couldn't be around you in the church project anymore. Why? Because you told me that it was a part of your project to create an upside down church, something that harkened back to Father saying you must prosecute the archangel. I said, okay, finally, this might be the time in history to prosecute the archangel, or prosecute Satan. And Lourdes had given us tremendous amount of evidence, and I think it was a bad condition for you to turn away from that evidence and do nothing, because you told the entire cosmos that you could abide that kind of thing. So then you got more of it, because setting the condition of not doing anything is actually a condition. So that's exactly what unfolded anyway. You left it up to me to, prosecute that situation. In the 5-hour conversation, you said to me, I wish you had continued. I mean, you were giving me mixed signals. In September, you told me, early September, you told me, no, nobody cares about this court case. And I told you, you'd be surprised how many people care about it. So I think that, sorry to say, I think you were delinquent. It wasn't my project. It was your project. It was a project of your church to create an upside down reality. If you never told me about political Satan being emboldened by non-action, I would have resorted to my tactics in dealing with somebody like Lourdes, which is to explain my position, hold my boundaries, and if I have to, ignore the person. I did that with Mrs. Claus. She couldn't take it, obviously. She set her husband against me. Nerdy. And anyway, I was through with that because that machine was broken. It assaulted me, and then it assaulted me for trying to address the assault. So, my friend, that is a tremendous amount of violence, okay? And then it weaponized the matching, which, believe me, look at me. I do not need to be matched in with the true family to receive the fact that I'm Father's son. Now, let me explain. Father sacrificed you guys for a reason. And I realized that if I say that I'm not his son, or if I hold out doubt, then he sacrificed you guys for nothing. And that is why, even though I'm filled with flaws and this kind of thing, I accept that through the 3-day ceremony and all those things that he said has the meaning of being born from his wife, okay, born of him. I accept that because that was the love of the Messiah to change my blood lineage, and I accept it. So because I accept it, it's not like I'm in a high position of need from you, from anything that you guys are peddling or selling or pushing or anything like that. And that is not words of hate. That is me drawing the line clearly about my needs. If you want to understand that, I mean, maybe I'll talk about that some other time, like why it is that Father came to save, not blessed children. He came to save people that were born from the wrong parents. And you don't even know what that's like because you were already born from the right parents. But anyway, that's for another time. So what I'm telling you guys is, I don't have some excessive need to be accepted. And I just pity, I pity Father. So I said, after that court case, I can't help you with that project anymore. It's just as simple as that. Okay, it's like saying, telling a company that you work for, or telling a friend that you hang out with, yeah, I can't spend this amount of time with you anymore. It's no hard feelings, right? And really, it is no hard feelings. I think though that Young Janim, you were delinquent. These people came and they weaponized. I believe that their advice to you was not based on anything real. In light of the fact that all their complaints about me, they have the luxury of focusing on my relative non-issues, my language and this kind of thing, after ignoring Lourdes' glaring issues. So the court filing is still out there. You'll have to get past the first series, the first argument, into the second, third, and fourth argument in the case to find out what she is capable of doing to people that you say you care about. And if you remain delinquent, whatever, the blood's on your hands. So I don't know. She has a way of being okay with hurting people, and you've told the universe that you'll turn a blind eye to it. So anyway, that is enough of me talking about the church and the court case and this kind of thing. It was over at the 5-hour conversation because the final door, which was the Citizens Covenant group creating a second state so that we could have United States and we could have a court that was not accused by Tim Elder and then prosecute the angel. That was closed because you thought the Citizens Covenant group was like a utopia moon and you were not going to give it any favor. And my heart was, to some degree, broken by the fact that, well, you were weak. Your weakness broke my heart because you wouldn't get in there and punch with me. And when they knew that I would punch with you along your side in those meetings, they told you that you have to tie your arm behind your back and not have me as a second fist in those fights, in those Thursday meetings. And you accepted those conditions. You fought against the spirit of the old age with one arm tied behind your back. And you accepted those conditions. You accepted the handicap. Okay? You didn't have to. I believe that you could have stood up to Cookchin and said, it doesn't matter that this woman does the work of 4 people. The reason why she does the work of 4 people is she has excessive desire to be recognized. You see this little guy? You see that little guy? Wake up. So she has excessive desire, as she said, to save herself through works. She should have been tempered by somebody who understood her situation better than she did herself. In other words, her family and friends all say she's addicted to work, and you guys enabled the addiction, and the addiction is so strong that she's willing to hurt people to get her fix. That's what you were dealing with. So you were delinquent in that area. But after the 5-hour conversation, my family still came to your jiu-jitsu classes. We came to the Christmas party in the middle of December. Why? Because there's still the chance of the original relationship that has nothing to do with church, nothing to do with archangels doing bad things, and that's what I set about to do after November. The court case, forget about it. Prosecuting Lourdes, forget about it. But still, trying to be your friend, trying to allow our kids to be the friends of your kids, the friends of the other kids in the church community. If you guys felt that, being home-based was a danger to your theology, that's the only thing that would be in the way. Because we were going to be a home-based people again. And maybe, if you felt that being home-based was going to somehow take away from what you were doing, that's the only thing that, I could foresee would threaten the relationship at that point. And so that's what we did in December. We tried to support your projects that did not insult the citizen. That's what we were doing. That's why we would come to your jiu-jitsu classes at your house. Okay? We didn't come to do anything other than show you people who believe in a natural relationship. Okay? Not a providentially mandated pyramid, this type of relationship. But you're precious to True Father. And we'd already gotten to know many people that came here because you came here, and their children, and so forth and so on. And so the Johnsons already knew the decentralized relationship. Okay, I remember my friend George, not because his central figure told him to, but we would go out, we'd take our daughters out for a night called Daddy-Daughter Time. It was heavenly. I don't know what to tell you. It was good. It was a good condition. It was the stuff of God and of a decentralized nature. Now, he's not very decentralized in his church life, but I appreciated Daddy-Daughter Time. And I remember we went to the local park and shot rockets off into the air with our sons. I mean, that type of stuff is, you can't get rid of that type of spontaneous, natural stuff, stuff that friends do. So, yeah, like, that's what we were doing in December. So, I have anything to say final about True Children? I went to bat for H1, even though he hurt my soul. Okay? So there's this two-pronged situation that keeps repeating. One, some true child does something, I don't know, short-sighted. And then two, I defend them even though the people that I'm working with who got hurt alongside me because of the true child's decision, I'm defending the true child. So here's the essence of that defense. When H1 destroyed the Pure Love Alliance, I went to work explaining the core values of service for peace. But he was wrong about saying that. He said that his reasoning for moving away from PLA was that we were focusing on our own purity, which was totally not true. Even the curriculum was set up to show that your purity has a bearing on the next generation. So that's not a purity for your own sake. Oh, look at me, I'm so pure, which is what he accused us of being limited to. I think he just threw out an accusation because he'd already determined to stop focusing on it, stop funding it, stop pouring any spiritual energy into it, or whatever. But it was a mistake, because what had happened was the Pure Love Alliance had become a thing where blessed children were finding their footing in the new era. It was the time after there's no restoration anymore. And Father said it is as if the fall had never happened. So if we are back at the garden as if the fall had never happened, we're still focusing on the commandment. It was the time to give the commandment to the world, because that's what happens when restoration, the fall is completely erased, and we're back at the moment where Adam and Eve are not mature, but they hadn't fallen yet. So there's this providential reason why we were investing in it, and blessed children were pure, and all they had to do was go explain to the world why they keep their purity, and they were born for that. And it's a win-win situation. They get to express themselves, grow in their pride and dignity for the way God and true parents had made them and prepared them. They had a valued message as far as the Christian churches were going. Christian churches were even forgiven the fact that we were from Reverend Moon, and H1 pulls a plug on this, and it was a mistake to do that. But when people who worked with PLA were talking about him, I defended one point. And that point was, true children, it seems, don't understand who they are from time to time. And I don't mean you're the child of Reverend Moon. I mean that you're the child. Each one of you is a child who doesn't have to deal with Satan. You already are born with a victory, because and in the world of egos and egoism, this is just not good enough. I mean, your pride should always be, in the world of egoism, your pride should always be based on something you accomplished, right? But in the original world, the victory is the fact that you are born from the king, born from the victorious person, born from the owner. The owner of a company, that guy's son, is the kid walking around that everybody respects as the son of the owner. If you get cross with that kid, you might get fired. The kid's never going to get fired, okay? So you better really respect that kid, even if he's like, So, in other words, you could correct Satan without getting into this debate that Satan gets first gen into, and that is, what have you accomplished that I should listen to you? That's the debate that Satan gets us into. But I guess it's because you were raised by these nannies and butlers who were archangelic that you inherited this idea that you have to like answer to the angel's query, like what have you done that I should listen to you, and this kind of thing. And the main thing that you do is you hold the lineage. That's what you do. You hold the lineage that is not accused. That's the main thing that you do. And so, like I said, if they understand that they inherited this lineage, that it's baked, the lineage itself, it's unassailable. It's an unassailable position. So if you understood that that's what you were, you know, I think you wouldn't have the excessive desire which led to, you know, the infidelity, the whoremongering, the drug abuse, the harlotry that true children have gotten themselves into, you know. And with Youngjanim, the power mongering. You're like telling people that, you know, one of the most disturbing things that you're doing, Youngjanim, you're telling people that you gave them crowns. Even when I wore the crown, you didn't give me that crown. I'm the one that told you that we were having a hard time settling into our mandates as tribal messiahs already. I said that we had something in common and that we were walking a parallel course to some degree. This is before you moved into Cookchin's place. But now you accept the idea from Cookchin that you're supposed to be over everybody. Then I never accepted that. So, but that comes out of an excessive desire, you know, maybe an excessive desire to, you know, a lot of the people that they want a king who takes responsibility because they don't know what to do. So they want somebody else to be responsible. So they want a king, just not unlike the Israelites wanted a king who would be responsible for them. And God warned them, you don't really want a king, but they wanted a king anyway. Anyway, it comes out of some desire to get, I don't know, approval from your brother, approval from them. It's not a mandate given to you by Father to be this type of ruler. You're supposed to be a teacher. According to Father's prayers over you at the time that you received the books, you're supposed to be a teacher. Okay, the best thing that you do is not cheat on your wife. That if Father asked you before elevating you one question, you said, "Are you sexually pure?" The one most important thing that you do is keep your purity. The other thing that I think that true children have to realize is that, and all blessed children have to realize this. First gen were desperate. They were in a desperate situation, being born from the wrong person. And so what True Father gave us was the opportunity to be born from the right person, so that our identity could be right at the conception point, right? If your identity is not right at the conception point, we call that original sin. Okay, that's what origin. There's some sin or something that puts you in relation to Satan at your origin, at the very origin of your life. Okay, that's the moment of the sex organs. So you know, Father said, if I could put you in my wife's belly and let you come out. This is Father talking to first gen who are in this dilemma of being born the wrong way. And Father had pity for people who were born the wrong way. And so these people couldn't fight Satan because Satan was saying, you are of me. You have no power to fight me. So we gain the power to fight Satan, not by our, not primarily just by our, you know, what do you call it, ascetic lifestyle, fasting and this type of stuff. But we gain the power to fight Satan because of the change of lineage. We could say we are not of you as we cast flames of truth at you. No, we ourselves are fireproof now. We ourselves are fireproof in the sense that we have formed an allegiance with the true owner, God, and to carry on his true lineage. So the sin or the crime that was on you, Satan, is no longer on us. So yes, we can burn you and we are fireproof. Okay? We walk through fire and we don't get burned while Satan gets burned. And so Father pitied the fact that we couldn't withstand Satan. We couldn't accuse Satan without being ourselves accused. So we were in a very impotent situation and we were being assaulted by Satan. Okay? So so I would always say, when I would defend true children, I would say, when they realize who Father is historically, and they go, I too pity first generation. I too will pick up the change of blood lineage. I'll pick up an ownership of the change of blood lineage and the position of true parents. This is when you actually have the same heart of true parents, and carry on my Father's work to give these people this magical, impossible bridge that was built so that they could get into the lineage wherein they could judge Satan. Okay, so I always went to bat for you, knowing that you guys didn't understand your position in history and your father's role in pitying historic fallen man and desiring to save him. And once you realize that you don't owe Satan an explanation because of your righteous birth, not because of your deeds, but because of your parents' righteous sex, which created you, and the fact that your father's ministry is rooted in pity that he feels that there's this gulf between God and fallen man. And so he built a bridge called the blessing. And he cemented the value of the blessing by paying attention to Cain-type children, us, more than Abel-type children. You guys were put on the altar and sacrificed so that we could believe the value of what Father was giving us. And when you realize that that's what your father was up to and how noble that was, any true child who adopted that pity for fallen man to go out and tell them that they need to be reborn and that this is the rebirth process. Okay, so my tolerance for true children was a lot higher than my friends. They wash their hands of you. And I'd be like, no, you can't do that, you know. And then they'd be like, oh, I guess Father failed because all of his children are bad. And I'm like, no, it's just that, you know, they don't understand these couple of things, and they'll get there. They'll have this realization one day. Anyway, this is who I was before Hyungjin came here. And after that debacle with the church, and after me leaving the church, because I realized I have to accept that, you know, it's a realm that will abuse me, I still took a stand for trying to relate with him and be his friend. Anyway, but then something happened in January. In December, we had gone to the Christmas party, and we kept going in jiu-jitsu. And I'll talk about January 2018 in the next video. Anyway, for what it's worth, these are the things that I'm called to. This is why I carried on. This is how I carried on. I hope this message was clear. Okay, bye.